All right, Rob. In the past, you've been involved in a few little controversies online, and being outspoken is one of your strengths, but it's also a weakness sometimes. So I'm going to totally prey on that and ask you what you think about this encroaching of like traditional martial art values into jiu-jitsu. I mean, we've seen the art change a lot in the last 10, 20 years.
Yes.
So what are some examples of how it's changed?
The deification of instructors with titles is definitely one way.
Professor,
master, professor, any title you've earned, if you want to use it, sure. If you require people to refer you, by title, I'm Professor Rob. I think I have like one or two students that ever refer to me by my title, and they tend to be older or old school. And I'm certainly not going to forbid them, because then that becomes kind of an infinite regress. So I don't like that kind of hierarchical stuff, so I'm going to make sure that you don't do any hierarchical stuff.
But thrown on high. Bad acolyte.
So really, if you want to call me Professor Rob and that makes you more comfortable in your training environment, then that's absolutely fine. But as soon as
I don't like it, actually.
I don't like it either, and I tell them that. I actually do tell my students, hey, my name's Rob or Robert or whatever version of my name you like. It kind of comes down to a similar thing where you go to different schools, and almost every person that moves to my academy or visits my academy asks me some variation of the question, am I allowed to wear a different team's gi in your classes, sir?
No, you need to buy my $400 single weave judo gi.
Piece of crap. You can wear whatever the hell gi you like. I often will tell people, you can wear a gi with a patch on it that says Rob Bernacki is a motherfucker, and as long as you come to class and enjoy training and you're a good training partner, I don't care.
Or please wear your karate gi.
So
you can cut your neck off.
So that's another one of those things where if you really want to call me professor, it's going to make me a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm getting paid to be there. So if I'm a little bit uncomfortable, it's okay, I'm being compensated. But most of my students, if not all, are going to call me by my first name, and I would prefer that, certainly. So that's an encroachment, definitely.
Yeah, it was such a relief to me about that name thing, coming from traditional martial arts where sensei, sifu, master, and all of a sudden you're Marcus. Really? You've been doing martial arts for 30 years and it's Marcus or John or Biff or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not only limited to the name thing.
No, I know I'm going to catch heck for this, because people that I am very good friends with, that I train with, that I respect the hell out of, do use and abuse the word os. Depending on how you use it, I know some people, as you were mentioning, use it ironically now, and certainly my students once in a while do that to get under my skin ironically, but again,
but what's wrong? Okay, so if you say, we're going to practice the armbar, what's wrong with that?
Okay, as a greeting, as just a throwaway term, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And all the people that I know that use it in this kind of informal manner. It's just a way of saying yes, or it's basically like saying hi. It's like aloha. Yeah. What does it mean? Hi, bye, whatever you want it to mean. So in that sense, zero problem with it. The problem I start to have with it is when you're inculcating your students in this kind of rote repetition of servility. When master speaks, you respond with us, yes sir.
When I say jump, you say how high, sir.
Exactly. The idea being that if I get to a point where I'm comfortable telling you what to do, whatever master says, you just say us. If master says suck me off, you say us, right?
Wait, you don't have to do that?
Between consenting adults, it's whatever goes, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. Senior student.
Yeah. So that anytime any of that aspect of traditional martial arts starts to creep into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it really raises my hackles. The whole the creont thing, where the idea that somebody that you're paying to teach you a martial art has any control over anything you do in your life outside.
A creont being somebody who trained with you and then they went and trained
somewhere else. Yeah, the temerity of someone to think that maybe if there's a school,
you went to Princeton,
yeah,
and then you went and studied at McGill.
Yeah. When you put it into those sorts of terms, the absurdity is, self-evident.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get somebody to believe and perform the ridiculous on a regular basis, there's no end to what you can
And you can
do.
gradually make it more and more ridiculous. It's a creeping progression.
Exactly.
Hey, I've got some great Kool-Aid. I want you all lined up, and you got a Jonestown.
Yep.
Well, what about something I've seen creep into more and more jiu-jitsu classes, especially kids classes, which is taking the belts, making even more belts, dividing it into even more stripes. Like you got your half yellow belt, half white belt with a little gold star for good behavior, and then another purple dot for showing up to more than 3 classes in a week. I mean, I see why people do it, but it's almost the McDojo-ification of jiu-jitsu, which used to have, just a few belts.
Yeah.
White, blue, purple, brown, black, done.
Yeah, and now we've got stripes in between. And to be fair, that is, the purpose for adding stripes was entirely commercial. It's that, in, I don't want to say North American society, but, certainly, Western modern society, instant gratification is a huge motivation. And so to keep people around that maybe would have quit, I'm about to get a stripe or I'm about to get a promotion, is definitely a valid thing. And that's honestly when, the kids one is a little bit absurd, but again, the attention span of the average child is, I'm getting close to the attention span of the average adult nowadays. So, but still,
There's a Pokemon over there. I'll be right back.
there is a disparity, and you're addressing that by creating an artificial motivation to stay around, which is, it's like you said, it is McDojification. I understand it. I am running a business. I do need people. I have. Out of an academy with, let's say, 75 students, I've got 10 to 20 guys who are showing up all the time, and the rest of them show up a few times a week, or once a week, or less than that, frankly. And those are the guys that are keeping the doors open. So doing what you need to do to keep them interested in training, again, I don't like it. And the way I get around it, for example, when we give out stripes, you're not getting a stripe because you showed up 20 classes in a row. You're getting a stripe specifically, our rank structure is designed to be entirely merit-based. So, you're getting as a white belt, you're getting a stripe for guard retention movements, you're getting a stripe for guard passing movements, for sweeping movements, and for back attack movements. So, oddly enough, some of the stuff that we dealt with in the apps is pretty much how I lay out my program for people to learn jiu-jitsu, conceptually and technically. So that is reflected in the stripe. So at least I don't feel like I'm going, well, it's August and you've been here twice, here's a stripe. All right.
And then the biggest one, the absolute biggest traditional martial artsification of jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to make a lot of enemies with this, is the whole idea of training jiu-jitsu without sparring. Or at least until...
That exists?
It exists, yeah. And it's pretty common.
Who would do that? I can't think of a name.
I'm sure the internet will provide lots of names of examples.
Yeah.
He says, desperate to not name anybody. Feel free, go ahead, sir yourself, Rob.
Yeah, I would suggest that teaching...
that's unbelievable. That's the very core.
No, it's the core of jiu-jitsu, yeah. And
performing techniques against people who are resisting as hard as they can.
And trained.
And trying to do the same thing to you.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the arguments, and I mean, these are always self-defense schools that are promoting this, is the idea that, what makes jiu-jitsu unique is that, or a certain brand of jiu-jitsu unique, is that, we're doing moves that work in street. No, you're doing kata. And if you're not sparring, if you're not rolling, if you're not going against resisting opponents, you're doing kata, which we roundly mock, as being a pointless exercise in traditional martial arts. And it doesn't have to be, but if it's all you do, it is a pointless exercise. If you never do live sparring of any kind, then you're not really doing what makes jiu-jitsu effective. You're not doing what makes any combat sport effective. And I know in the podcast interview that we did, we talked about this a little bit, and I know there were some comments on there where people were like, well, Rob, why are you picking on traditional martial arts? You're saying Brazilian jiu-jitsu is the only way. We never said that Brazilian jiu-jitsu is the only way. We said that it has to be pressure tested. So Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, Muay Thai, boxing, sambo, savat, anything where you're actually doing live contact sparring against an intelligent, trained, resisting opponent is going to provide you that element.
The grappling arts being better because you're not taking the most complex object in the entire known universe with trillions of synapses and bashing it with somebody else's fist.
Exactly.
But boxers are still pressure testing it against a resisting opponent at the expense of their brain pan and their IQ.
Yeah.
And their memory.
This is, you know,
and their happiness.
A free society to a certain degree. You know, unless I say the wrong word over my phone, and then it's not. Yeah. But
again.
Yeah, again. So yeah, exactly. People are kind of, I think, missing the point when we say things like this. We're not trying to say that Jiu-Jitsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the only way, because again, you have elements in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that are teaching you that you can learn to defend yourself by doing street moves without actually rolling.
But Rob, the techniques we practice
at
Kesting's combatives and
System
Emporium are way too deadly to practice in live sparring. I mean, there would be dead bodies everywhere after one training session. The 5-point palm exploding heart technique and the arm snap and the neck, the roadhouse,
dynamic breaks, right?
Yeah,
dynamic breaks.
The roadhouse neck breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there I'm dating myself, but
yeah.
You know, we would go full Patrick Swayze. You should never go full Patrick Swayze, and there'd be dead bodies everywhere. So
if you went full Patrick Swayze, you'd be a dead body yourself.
That's
too soon. Yeah.
But how do you counter that? Because that's a really common objection, and I genuinely believe there's lots of good people out there who've been told this, and they believe it because their teacher said it.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like, how do we counter like the mentality of children? Like, I mean, in the 80s, this was a school of thought that we could all, like, you know, at least, you know, in North America, we could all get behind, like, man, those ninjas, oh, have you seen those movies? I mean, we've had 20 years of debunking, you know,
myth
busting and all that, and, you know, the fact that people can still cling to such an absurd notion that that's what makes their martial art a fight, is that I would kill you if we did this for real. I mean...
well then why don't you fight in the UFC and
do a dynamic arm break? There's no rule in mixed martial arts.
Shinya Aoki pulled one off.
Absolutely. Shinya Aoki broke Wisniewski or something, a poor guy, up against the ropes, did a standing wakagatami, did a dynamic break.
Right. And how many times has that happened?
Yeah. An expert grappler pulled something off against a far less skilled grappler.
A dick move, to be fair.
To be fair, sure, but I mean, you know, if we're in a prize fight, what is a dick?
Sure.
If it's, you know, like,
we get into that.
We're going down a rabbit hole there. So yeah, I mean, nothing is stopping the, you know, invincible psychic master of whatever martial art from entering any mixed martial arts contest and doing dynamic breaks and messing.
But no, they don't want to let you in. They don't want to show that their art is susceptible. So it's a conspiracy to keep them out, or the gloves interfere.
Sure, yeah.
Or they couldn't in good conscience enter such an event because they would kill people, and they are a deeply evolved and highly, almost transparent, ethereal body of energy and enlightenment.
Mm-hmm. And if none of that seems ridiculous to you, you might be a Sistema practitioner. Like, really, like, if the way that I can defeat your incredible, you know, psychic system is that I put some gloves on.
Don't live anywhere cold.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah,
Can't get these gloves off.
I'm sorry. Like, I try to be, you know, pretty convivial and get along with people, but man, like, if you don't have a sense of humor in this day and age about the fact that you believe something that is patently absurd and flies in the face of, you know, years of what we can define as scientific proof that something doesn't work, that, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know how to have that conversation with you. Like, I just, you know, it's like being at a party and you're talking to a chick and she starts talking about astrology and you're like, that's great. Yeah, like, what do I do? Do I tell her?
Well, you start randomly trying to guess her sign, and after 12 guesses, I'm a psychic.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's me.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at this point, I try to become the, like, you know, ethereal, beneficent human being that I'm not going to take advantage of somebody who's that weak-willed just to get him into bed.
Nice positioning of a moral.
Yeah.
All right, I am the bottom feeder. Excellent, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, like, if you're having a conversation with someone like that and you can't simply say to them, hey, This has been debunked for hundreds of years. If you believe this unironically 100%, then like I don't know how to have a conversation with you.
Well, let's say we're dealing with a 14-year-old or a 15-year-old, right?
Which I suspect the people online that do that talk about this are 14 and 15.
So what would you say to a well-meaning kid?
Yeah.
Like, I remember doing Kung Fu when I was 15.
Yeah.
And I was pretty skeptical of death touch and pretty skeptical of, jumping over buildings. But I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah.
So how would you remove all doubt? I would say, number one, okay, if you really are so bloody deadly,
Yeah.
enter a single martial arts tournament.
Of any kind, really.
And knock a guy out without touching him.
Sure.
Do that 2 or 3 times in a row, guaranteed 100%, you have $1 million offer from the UFC to take on the champion. Like, that would be super cool television. It'd be the biggest card in history.
Absolutely. Like that, there's kind of a concept in debate or in presenting ideas that, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Right.
So I would just say, like, prove it. Show one instance, let alone an iteration of instances that would be required for real scientific proof of something. It's like there's proof of magic. Again, like that's not proof, guys. It's video editing. It's shills in the audience. Like if you believe this stuff, guys, man, I got some stuff I can sell you. Please come to me.
Bitcoin, untrackable Bitcoin.
Yeah, like. I shouldn't be alienating you guys. I should try to fleece you.
Yeah.
Or trying to fleece you. That would be a quicker path to riches in life than trying to wake you up. But
ironically, I think not ironically, I think one of the single best pieces of evidence for our side is that wonderful video that everyone who's been in the martial arts a long time,
the Chi Master,
who. And if you haven't seen it, you got to look up Ki Master or
versus
Chi Master
MMA.
versus MMA.
Yeah.
And I'm not the first person to talk about this. It's not the first time that I've talked about it. It's not the first time you've talked about it. But it's fantastic, and it's a level of self-delusion that it's like this vortex of like, let's all believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this, and you're going to jump, and you're going to believe that you got pushed, and I'm going to believe that I'm pushing you.
Yeah.
And it's like this circle jerk, really, of delusion.
Yeah.
And then it ends.
Aren't they all, really? Like, delusion circle jerks itself, yeah.
And then it ends when the guy gets punched in the face. And he's like, oh my God, I can't actually believe that that landed and that.
For those that want to say, that's an isolated instance, I'm going to give you reference to another video, which unfortunately I don't know the title of, but a young Stephan Bonner makes an appearance in this news clip where a guy is also like death touching people.
Right.
And, like they take a couple of MMA guys to this guy's school and he's like, doing this, and then he goes, okay, the thing is, this doesn't work on about 30% of the population. I'm like, but everyone else in the school is like, yeah, but that other 70%. And it's like, again, it boggles the mind that people, like the credulity of people with things like this.
I think it speaks to people's desire to find a guru and abdicate all personal responsibility. And, oh, please guide me, oh guru on the mountain. Please tell me what will work. Please tell me what won't work. Please tell me what I'm allowed to do. Please don't make me make my own decisions.
Absolutely. So, I couldn't agree more, and I need to keep my mouth shut as to the implications of that statement.
But yeah, hopefully there's less and less of this stuff over time. We'll see if it's actually true, or if this is like the multi-headed hydra that you chop one head off and it shows up two new ways.
If human nature is any reliable indicator, which I think it is, it's not going to go away. There are always going to be people who believe ridiculous things in the face of evidence to the contrary, because their identity and belief system will crumble as soon as they allow that sliver of doubt to come through. So they have to double down on their beliefs. So I don't imagine that that's coming.
Well, let's pivot from here
Yes.
to those amazing investment opportunities that we were talking about before we started filming this.
Mm-hmm.
That amazing gold mine where the reward, it's a penny stock right now, and you should get in on the ground floor.
It's the Kesting Bernanke investment scheme. Plan.
Yeah. On the Vancouver Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
Highly reputable.
You have to send us envelopes in cash.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah. Or Bitcoin. Cash, Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And we promise that you'll make tons of money. I think we need to work on that pitch.
Are you gonna post that?
I think so.